Hello, my name is Tommaso Pollio, music producer for the Spirit in Action YouTube channel. The wonderful other half of the Spirit in Action team, writer and counsellor Claire, joins me today.
Hi, Tommaso.
Hello, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this podcast.
Absolute pleasure.
These podcasts are companions to the daily meditations that we produce freely for you to hear on YouTube. We are now close to 70 guided meditations now and counting. The aim of these podcasts are basically to further discuss these meditations using questions given to us through YouTube. Today we delve further into the 9th meditation we produced a few years ago. Become the conscious creator of your reality. As always, I'll start with a quote from your meditation, Claire. Changing our thinking patterns will change our experiences. So if we want something different in our lives, we must be the difference, the change. This is not as easy as it sounds. I sometimes catch my thinking patterns and I become quite aware of how much negativity there is sometimes in there.
Negative thoughts really can lead to things going round and round in your head, and we can spend our time ruminating, particularly on the negative. So we have to learn to interrupt those thoughts and basically change them to more life-giving ones. So literally we learn to retrain our brain and our old habits because they're so intrusive, those thoughts. They literally run our world.
Yes, and they create the reality basically around you once you believe.
Yeah.
And you, as you said before, you've mentioned it becomes easier to release old negative thinking patterns when we have something to replace them with. That is of a neutral and life-giving statement without setting up further conditions. I guess that's why you call it neutral?
Well, we call it neutral because it neutralizes the energy, thereby bringing a solution. And the reason we remove and replace is because in any healing, when we take out, we must replace. But it's what you replace with. It must be neutral so it doesn't set up another condition. Right. We literally have to learn what our negative thoughts and behaviours are, as the inner critic always looms large. And then look for evidence to counter that. Basically.
So I guess we have this need to be aware of our inner dialogue.
Absolutely.
And the mental cause behind it.
Well, we can't really change things until we do that.
And then you can see how deeply it's been running our life. As with me, I do see myself, especially in the mornings, there's a lot of negativity running around. I don't know where it comes from.
Understand it doesn't really matter how much negativity there is, but having the ability to change those thoughts and behaviours, we're literally building new neural pathways in the brain. And it's very, very powerful.
It creates a healing, I guess.
Well, having the ability to change the thought and build new neural pathways in the brain is very powerful.
I guess we start to take control of our lives.
Well, that's right. We don't set up new conditions. And as we're building new strong neural pathways, we can have a tendency to put our mind there rather than the old pattern.
I was reading somewhere that the first 7 years of our lives are very important, as in that we soak up so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Around us. I mean, I've always wondered in nature how animals just learnt everything, so quickly, how they have to learn all these patterns and how they pick it up without having to go to school or anything. There's no school for tigers or, they just learn. Birds, they just seem to learn by osmosis. Are we this similar? Do we sort of just pick up by
Well,
watching.
I think we're similar. I mean, you've seen stories where kids have been growing up with animals and they have the animal behaviours. So, I mean, we're very capable of picking up whatever's around us. We learn through our experiences of what's going on around us.
So I guess my point is, when we're growing up, we're watching, well, whoever's bringing us up, our parents or whoever, and we're soaking in all.
It's going in on a deep, deep level.
Right, even the unconscious stuff is going in too.
Everything's going in, So as we become aware of our thoughts, we become the watcher watching ourselves. And as we become aware of the pattern emerging through the awareness of our thoughts and behaviours, we can clearly start to see our inner dialogue that actually does run our life.
And so when we see these things that are running our lives, and then we make a conscious effort to change that. I remember you mentioned in this day 9 meditation that we start to take control of our lives and ourselves. And that's a bit different to wanting control life, though, isn't it? Because some could misinterpret this statement, like myself.
Well, controlling people tend to want to control situations, events and people. And controlling behaviour can rage freely. And controlling behaviour is how you act, basically to intimidate, manipulate and exploit.
Exploit people.
It's a kind of domination, basically. It can lead to abuse.
Right, so that control is different to what we're talking about, controlling our lives.
Self-control is about learning to impede your own impulses and to self-regulate, which it really is about identifying the causes and devaluing the intensity of impulses. We literally reprogram our brain, and the more drive and the more aware of our negativity and self-critic we become, we can learn to challenge them again and again and look for evidence to what is true or not. Then we can start to take on a belief of a more constructive way of thinking. Because it's not about positive thinking, it's about choosing to place your mind somewhere different.
So it's not just a blind affirmation.
No, it's not about just saying an affirmation. It's just because affirmations don't work.
Oh, right. How so?
Because they're really coming from want. And want is what we must rise above it. Or from the fact that we think there's something wrong. Well, as far as the energy is concerned, it couldn't give a shit if it's right or wrong.
Is that what the universe...
It just is.
Right. Yeah, oh, you mean the energy.
So that saying statements that are neutral, as I said earlier, it neutralises the energy, thereby seeking a solution. And it's not that we're just going to say a few statements. We actually have to be aware all the time to change our negative self-critic.
To catch that thought.
To catch it and think, hang on, I don't have to believe this anymore. I don't have to run along these lines now. I can choose to put my head somewhere different.
Another message I love hearing you repeat to me is that we make the choice to let go of the old belief systems and opinions. And we now choose to replace these old negative thinking patterns with life-giving ones. And as we repeat these positive statements, they become stronger and stronger. And our mind will start to believe in these thoughts, that's what I love, which are life-giving. And then the old belief systems slowly fade into the background. I'm finding that is so with myself, that they are slowly fading. I mean, they're still there, but they're not as strong.
But they don't hold you anymore.
No, that's exactly right. I'm more aware that it's there, and I go, oh, there's that message again, rather than before it would just govern my life and I would take it as gospel.
No, that's right. And you have to absolutely acknowledge what you're feeling and thinking. Don't dismiss it. In fact, make friends with it. But you can say, hang on, I'm choosing not to believe that now. I'm putting my mind on this instead.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating when this negative thought comes. I go, okay, where did you come from? When did I get this message?
Well, it would have come at very, very early childhood. And it doesn't really matter where it came from. The fact is it's there.
And I love how you say that there's no quick way. There is only your way.
Well, that's right.
Well, that's really helped.
Well, because I think we often spend a lot of time comparing ourselves
to others.
And nobody knows your journey. Nobody knows who you and where you really are at. So what somebody else is doing, people will think, oh, they seem to really have it together and know what they're doing.
Oh, she was enlightened by 8, or she was awakened.
And actually, it's not. Most of it isn't true. You really don't have to blow your own horn if you're centered and calm.
Yes, most of those people just work through life quite quietly, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
And you probably wouldn't notice them.
That's right.
So I like that. Another thing you say to me is that the more work you do, the deeper, more profound the transformation.
Because the more aware we become, the more presence we have. And being present is where change really occurs.
That's exactly right. I find that with now, with all the news we get, all the bad news. I find myself trying to get, more present because just all this fire
of negativity.
Negativity.
Well, I just think it's a bit different, whether it's stronger or not. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. But the kids today are much stronger, I think, and so can deal with it. Boundaries are very important because they help you have clarity and guidelines to the way you choose to want to live your life.
So even with the news and all that, I'm finding myself, I'm constantly removing and replacing the message I get with a life-giving statement.
Yeah.
Like my future is peaceful, positive and bright. I now allow peace
and joy into my life.
Yes. And that seems to help a lot.
It does, because as I've always said with the statements, you have to think them, say them, believe them to become them. And there's a long way to believing them.
Yes, and a sort of laziness too. I catch friends.
Well, I think basically people have become quite lazy and they think they can do 1 or 2 weeks of work and everything will be right. Well, it doesn't work like that.
or when things go well, this is me, I'm talking about when things are going well, you suddenly stop the work and go, oh, everything's fine, right? I'm fine. And then
one forgets that everything comes in a cycle.
It's a bit like sickness as well. One takes their health for granted until you're ill in bed and suddenly all you want to do is be better again. All the other silly thoughts that bothered you while you were healthy are inconsequential.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I take a lot for granted.
That's why it's important to be grateful.
Yes. I don't know if it's true, but someone said about Einstein that every time he woke up and got out of bed, every step he took, he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know if it's true, but I quite like it.
I don't know, but it's lovely, yeah.
If anyone would like to learn more about what Claire has been speaking about, you can make an appointment with Claire by clicking on the link below, and that will take you to her webpage or Facebook page. She's very easily accessible. You can make an appointment if you wish, and she can work with you over video, or if you live in Perth, Western Australia, you can go see her personally face to face. But she is very available internationally. If you found benefits from this video, please give us a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the Spirit in Action channel and check out our other videos of guided meditations and very, very relaxing music to put you to
Beautiful music, Tom.